And good morning, everyone. We're back at 8:08 a.m. And as promised, in the house and on the radio with us this morning is Dr. Schovanec, Lawrence Schovanec, the president of Texas Tech. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
So you just got back off of a cruise.
Well, it was a couple of weeks ago.
Alaska.
It was a working cruise.
Yeah.
It was a Texas Tech alumni event. Between 30, 35, I think, alumni were on that ship. Representatives from every Big 12 school except a couple. Yeah. I'd never been on a cruise before. The best part of it was the time spent with the alumni. And they had a guest, sort of a featured guest, Vern Lundquist, gave a couple talks and organized a panel of, there was one other Big 12 president, but then voices of the various athletic programs were there. And we had a panel talking about future to Big 12, athletics in general. I really enjoyed it. Alaska is beautiful, but I think that's my last cruise.
Oh, really?
It's just too much time and intermittent email.
Well, did you? Well, yeah, I hear you. Were you able to stop and enjoy some of the shore excursions?
Oh, yeah, that was the best part.
Yeah.
We started in Seattle and kind of worked our way up to as far north as what's called Glacier Bay, and came back and we did some hiking and biking, and there's a lot of hills up there. Biking is not easy.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was pushing my bike part of the time.
So in other words, you would love to go back. You just want to spend time there. You don't want to.
I would love to go back to Victoria. We didn't have enough time there. Went to the Butchert Gardens. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I enjoyed it. My wife was with me. She was a good sport. I think she had a good time with the people that we were with. I know she did. And that was the best part of the trip, being able to spend time with Red Raiders. These are great people.
Yeah. Red Raiders are great people.
They are. You do a lot of eating. and
on a cruise, yes. There's food 24/7.
Eating and drinking is a big part of the day.
Exactly. And just a quick story. We went on an Alaskan cruise, and some friends of ours took a helicopter tour up the mountain, and they were going to go fishing. And they nearly got eaten by a grizzly bear. I mean, this grizzly bear was on a run for my friend because he was fishing in the grizzly bear's fishing hole, and he did not want him there. And the guide pulled out his pistol and fired it in the air and scared the bear off right before he got my friend.
Well, they would always tell us that. We took a hike into a kind of a temperate forest, and we took a bike ride that went up into the edge of the mountains, and they said, watch out for the bears. I think they did that just to add an element of excitement to the event. But what was interesting is we saw Lubbock connections and Red Raiders everywhere. We were in a town called Haines. We went into a store. This is a very, very small community, and the shop owner said her dad was from Levelland. Her sister had gone to Texas Tech. We were walking on this trail out in the forest, and somebody saw the double T on our shirts, and they said, guns up. And one was a Tech alum, graduate of Monterey High School.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
And just another interesting side note, my little granddaughters, when they were living in Alaska, they lived in Wasilla, and my little granddaughter went to a school, and it was the Trenton Titans. And their logo, they just flat stole the Tech double T. I have pictures of it. It is exactly the Tech double T, the Trenton Titan.
We'll have to look into that.
I think you ought to sue them.
Well, actually,
maybe not.
There's a school in California that does the same thing.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think, I don't know, is the double T, is that actually run by the athletic department?
The marketing of the double T is managed to a large degree by the athletic department through Learfield Sports, which controls our third-tier rights. But we benefit from that. And, about a year ago, we allowed the Alumni Association to use the double T. And Learfield has helped them work with their corporate sponsors and expanded the reach of their advertising through that arrangement, it's been beneficial. Yeah. So they manage it, but it's a positive thing.
Well, we only have we never have enough time with you, but let's move on. On our list this morning, you had mentioned this is the second anniversary of Campus Carry.
Right.
How's that working?
It's been. I don't mean to minimize the impact of that, but in a sense, you would say it's been a non-event.
Which is what it should be.
It's what many people said it would be. Now, there are those who still have a great deal of consternation about this. I hear almost nothing about it. About every month or so, I'll get a list of exemptions as to where guns might be prohibited for a special event that might involve children or some other circumstances. But the implementation has been very, very smooth. We've had no incidents. We had that tragic event last fall when Officer East was shot. And some people contacted me and said, well, this is what you get with Campus Carry. That had nothing to do with it.
He was too young.
He was too young. He wasn't a concealed licensed carrier.
Dr. Schovanec, it seems to me, and we've talked about it extensively on this show, just anecdotal evidence you hear constantly. In fact, there was an incident here just last week in Littlefield, Levelland, where someone with a concealed carry prevented a woman from being kidnapped. In a story here, you hear about these happening all the time, and it seems to me like that we are as a country safer with those who are carrying, and you just rarely, if ever, hear about a negative incident entailed with someone who is carrying.
Well, knock on wood that we've had no incidents yet. And about a week ago, I do believe there was an interview done with a lieutenant in the police department, and the statement was made that we are a safer campus because of Campus Carry. And I heard from certain groups that resented that statement. That, whether you can say we're safer or less, but there are many examples that you're referring to, and I would just say that legislation hasn't. Its effect on campuses have not been noticeable.
So how many people? My point is, you have to be 21. There's probably the vast majority of students are under 21.
They are,
and probably the vast majority of 21-year-olds do not want to carry.
That's right. But also, when we went through about a year or so of planning for this, we looked at a lot of data. CHL holders are some of the most law-abiding people you'll ever find. And you're right. We actually had an estimate of how many would actually be carrying. Very, very, very few students. But staff and faculty do carry. And most people wouldn't know.
So do y'all allow faculty to carry now?
According to the rules.
Oh, so the law allows it.
Yesterday, for instance, we had a ceremony in Memorial Circle. It was Purple Heart Day. We raised a flag. They said we have the largest Purple Heart flag in the state, and we raised it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, fantastic.
And we honored some Purple Heart recipients, and I patted one guy on the back, and I realized he was carrying his niece's shirt.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Schovanec. And we're back here at 8:20 a.m. With Dr. Lawrence Schovanec, president of Texas Tech University. We have a texter this morning, Dr. Schovanec, that says, could Dr. Schovanec talk a little bit about graduation rates? Does Tech have more students finishing than before? Seems like we do.
Oh, that's a great point. I'm so glad that person raised that. Every week, I get a report on our retention rates. And last year, we admitted the largest freshman class ever, almost 5,900. And we wanted to make sure that when we admitted that larger group, and we had done some what we call holistic consideration of certain cases, that we didn't lose them. As of last week, Friday when I got that report, our retention rate for that class is 3% higher than it was a year ago. A percent increase in retention is very significant.
That's considerable.
So last year we had a record, first-year retention of 84%. If we could get up to 87, that would be very, very significant. Our goal at Texas Tech is to retain 90% of the freshmen we enroll. What was really interesting also is that class was almost 40% Hispanic. And, we achieved the benchmarks to be a Hispanic serving institution. And 70%, a lot of those students are first generation. And so we implemented a number of new programs for all students to make sure that once we get them here, we keep them here. And our retention rate for our Hispanic students in the freshman class is up 6%. Now, those numbers aren't final. We have to go through the 12th day of class. But that is something we pay a lot of attention to. 5 years ago, we were retaining about 80%, and now we're on the other side of it.
That's fantastic.
It is.
We were talking earlier, and I'll tell you what I see. You see more minorities now that are obviously educated, because you see that they are in the community, living in the same neighborhood that I and others live in, and these are obviously we're educating a lot more minorities than we used to. Now, we had talked earlier here in Lubbock. It's the minorities usually are Hispanic because we have a huge Hispanic population. Not as much many blacks live in this area as do in others.
So I think we're 42 to 44% Hispanic in this state. And if you look at the last two freshman high school classes, more than 50, right at 50, a little over 50% were Hispanic. That's our state. That's our country. Yeah. We have to educate all of these people. If we don't, the implications for our economy will be very severe.
Absolutely.
And so
you're doing a great job of it, too.
Well, Tech, I'm very proud that Texas Tech is as diverse as it is, because in some sense we have a moral obligation to educate the people of our state, and that's something we put a high priority on.
So, Dr. Schovanec, do we have an idea of what the freshman enrollment is going to be this year?
So as of Monday, I think I got the 3-week report out, and we're undergraduate is going to be up probably close to 2%. Mm-hmm. Law is down by design because we scaled down the size of that program, but it's a small number, so we lose some students there. My concern is our graduate program. That's so important to our research status. Last year, for the first time in many years, we had a drop in graduate enrollment, and it looks like at best we're going to be flat. So I think when the dust settles, we're going to come in 1 to 1.5% above where we were a year ago. We need to grow about 2% a year to hit that target that was set many years ago of 40,000 by 2020. We're going to be very close. That is not our obsession. I mean, probably if Ken Hance would hear this, he'd give me a call. But we're going to hit 40,000 close to 2020, and I think by 2025, Texas Tech is going to be, around 42 to 43,000.
So, do you think? I don't know. This is just off the top of my head. But with the graduate thing, do you think the fact that jobs are available in I guess to the extent they are, do you think that has to do with people maybe not going back to get their graduate degree?
Matt, that's I think a very good point. I don't have specific data, but anecdotally, what you generally see is when the economy is very strong, graduate enrollment is challenged. And when the economy is poor, sometimes people will go back and get a master's degree. And if you go down to Midland, Odessa, you can make pretty good money driving a water truck.
I was going to say,
no kidding.
With high school education.
And so and also the other issue is international enrollment at the graduate level. It's harder to get visas in certain areas, high-tech areas, but there's still opportunities in the liberal arts and the humanities. We have to be more aggressive in recruiting those students. There's a lot of opportunity to recruit more students from Asia, and so we just have to pay attention to that.
Yeah. We have another texter this morning in reference to you're mentioning about the number of Hispanics that are enrolled at Tech. He says, how many of those are DACA kids?
Oh, we have very few DACA kids. The last time I checked, we had between 50 and 55. These are students. If you were to meet them, I think you'd be very sympathetic to their situation.
No, most of them you wouldn't even know that they. I mean, you would have no idea.
Right. No, we're very support. We have some people contact me about this, but we actually have a dream center. We call it a dream center, where they can get advice that helps them navigate sort of the issue where they are. Sometimes these students are reluctant to come out and seek help because they're worried about their situation. But it's a small number, but we are very supportive of them.
We only have a couple of minutes left. Wow. Always, we have less time than we.
It's my long-winded answers.
Board meeting that's coming up.
Yeah, that starts tomorrow.
And we've got classes starting August 12th. 27th.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you found that out, Matt. Yeah, classes will start this fall. The board meeting will be an important meeting. There's an agenda item that will go before the board that relates to the vet school. We'll be looking at our budgets, approving our budgets for the coming year. So it's going to be an important meeting.
Is the vet school coming along?
I would say it's coming along. So we do have an agenda item that will be put before the board for their consideration that provides like a 5-year budget that we would then use as a basis for taking it to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and then to the AVMA for accreditation.
So are we going to be able to get everything to the Texas legislature in January?
Yeah, I couldn't, we're going to have to work on that. I think it would be foolish to predict exactly what kind of non-formula funding we'd get, but that's an essential part of it. But now,
are you working with maybe like Dustin Burrows, Charles Perry,
yes.
some of these?
Charles Perry was critical in getting the funding we had last time, as well as our other John and Dustin, and so that's just going to be part of what's going to happen in this coming legislative session, which is an important session because it determines our formula funding for the coming biennium.
Well, we are just about out of time. Anything that you want to say that we haven't covered this morning?
No. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Matt. I always appreciate the chance to be here.
Well, we always love it when you're here.
Thank you.
Well, we have a minute left. Boy, things are looking good out there. How about the football team? How are we going to do this year?
I'm always optimistic. I think the first game against Ole Miss in NRG Stadium is going to be very important.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Schovanec. We appreciate it so much. And that's going to put a bow on the show for our Wednesday. We'll be back in the morning about 6:20. We hope you join us then. And everyone go out there and have a wonderful Wednesday. And Chad is next.